Ace Podcast.
Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up, and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile-friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
I'm Chris Farrell from the official GonnaGeek.com podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other geeky podcasts over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it's Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos.
It's Josh Pederson, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humannequin Media.
We're here live at E3 2017 for the latest episode of the PCC Multiverse, and just want to make sure everybody knows out there we're going to get some great interviews from some of the hottest developers in the video game industry, so check it out. And you know what? What's our next stop?
The hall, the main hall. We're going in.
No, it's the PCC Multiverse.
Oh.
Don't be alarmed. The quasi-shimmering light before you is a trans-dimensional gateway to other worlds, other voices, other thoughts, and other realities. Up feels like down, and down feels like the number 7 on a Wednesday morning. Don't worry. That quivering, blood-boiling sensation under your eyebrows is all a part of the charm. Welcome to the PCC Multiverse.
And we're back with Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We're along with Janneman Nordhagen. All right, I perked on it. I got it for you. And he's here to showcase the game right here at E3 2017 Indiecade, right for When Water Tastes Like Wine. Is that correct?
Where the water tastes like wine.
Where the water tastes like wine. So tell us first off, you were saying about 3 years to create the game. Tell us a little bit more about your work into it and the game itself.
Sure. So this is a narrative game. It's about traveling and telling stories in a sort of Depression-era United States. So it's all about folklore and spreading tales and songs around the country. There are 16 different characters that you can meet as you wander around and share stories with. Each of these characters is written by a different person. So this game is kind of like a collection of short stories in video game form. And I'm sort of the creative director as well as programmer of the game. The driving force behind it, I guess you'd say.
And as far as, would people treat it as far as an adventure game? Or what kind of games can they really relate this to as far as when they're actually playing through it?
Right, it's difficult to tie it to a particular genre, but we do have a kind of 3D overworld that you wander through where you meet these people and you have little adventures. In some ways it's like an RPG, but with more of a narrative spin to it.
Alright, the game looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Josh, want to get some shots of the game itself? What are you looking as far as for where the water, as far as where it comes out, when it comes out, and what's the particulars on that?
Right, so we don't have a release date yet or a price, but it'll be out on Steam, and then later it'll be on PlayStation and Xbox.
Oh, sweet.
And to find out more information about it right now, you can go to wherethewatertasteslike.wine.com.
Okay, so it's wherethewatertasteslike.wine.com. Okay,
That's right.
great indeed. And then as far as, are you looking as far as what time when somebody sits down and plays it, How long do you think, as far as maybe it would be nice involving game? Is it going to be something on long term, maybe a shorter game? What are you looking at for as far as when regular consumers sit down to play? What kind of experience would they be looking at for?
It obviously depends on how deeply you dig into the stories and how thoroughly you want to uncover all the tales the characters have to tell you. We think it's going to be about a 5 to 10 hour experience for most people.
Okay, that's awesome. That's it. For me and for Josh, who does not have all the time in the world to play games, this is something that could really hit a sweet spot for us, because we want to get involved and invested into a great narrative, but we don't, like we said, don't have all the time to do so indeed. So
I know exactly how you feel.
That's great indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, Janneman, it's been a great pleasure having you on the Pop Culture Cosmos, and that's, again, where the water turns into wine.
Where the water tastes like wine.
Ah!
It's a complicated name, don't worry about it.
Where the water tastes like wine. I'll get it right one of these days. Where the water tastes like wine. It's going to be available on Steam coming soon. Is it in type of early access or anything?
No, we're just going to release, and that'll be it. It's narrative game.
Once it goes into wild, that's it.
Yep, exactly.
All right, now that's even better. There you go, the old traditional, old school way, where there's not 5 years of early access. There you go, indeed. Well, I wish you all the best with the game. It's going to be tremendous. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And then let us know if you want to come back on Pop Culture Cosmos on YouTube, and also on our radio shows that are done twice each week to a vast audience. Let us know. We're more than happy to have you on to talk more about the game itself.
Great. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We've got a great song from Chad and all the rest of the gang at Hyperschmitt. This is About to Win, and you're listening to the PCC Multiverse.
Waiting just to see the light. When did this become a fight? Struggle just to fill my lungs with air. Staring at the finish line, the darkness running out of time. I'll do what it takes to get you there.
Hopelessness is not a choice, 'cause now you can't ignore my voice. Push right through, 'cause this is not the end. I know it feels just like the end, losing your breath with every pain, diving deeper than you could. Hang on, you're about to win. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, you got me. Whoa. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, you really got me. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I just gotta hear you say, yeah, you got me. Yeah, you really got me. Whoa, I just need to hear you say, yeah, you got me. Yeah, you really got me. Yeah, you got me. Yeah.
that's about to win from Hyperschmitt. Catch all their great songs today on YouTube.
Hey, this is Chad from Ghost Toasters, and you're listening to Pop Culture Cosmos Podcast.
Hey everyone, if you're in the Southern California area and are looking for the best way to improve your home, look no further than adding some always green synthetic grass today. Whether it's creating that awesome backyard that's kid and pet friendly, or that putting green to work on your golf game, Always Green provides installation and landscaping with only American-made products, such as their famous synthetic turf with advanced drainage technology and backed by a 15-year warranty that will have your yard looking great for a very long time. Always Green also installs retaining walls, custom lighting in driveways, and the most beautiful stone walkways, so if you live in the Southern California area, what are you waiting for? Financing is also available, so call for a free estimate today. 714-614-7814. That's 714-614-7814. Or stop by their store at 16772 Wanda Circle in Huntington Beach and get your home looking great with Always Green synthetic turf and putting greens. A proud sponsor of Pop Culture Cosmos, Humannequin Media, and the PCC Multiverse channels. For the latest reviews and opinions on everything pop culture, head on over to our brand new site, www.popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Back live, we're right here at A Case of Distrust, right here at Indiecade at E3 2017, and I'm here with Ben Wander. How you doing?
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, good, good. You're the creator, obviously, of A Case of Distrust?
That's right, I did the code, the writing, and the art of the whole game.
Sweet, so tell me a little bit more about A Case of Distrust, because I don't trust Josh, my co-host right over there, but tell me a little bit more about the game that you got going on right here.
So it's a narrative mystery from 1924 San Francisco. We play a female private investigator at the time, and it takes a lot of the themes of that time period: the emancipation of women, the prohibition of the period, all the gangsters, all the corruption. We built out a whole world with that stuff in mind. Put an adventure game on top of that, and you're solving a mystery as the main gameplay component. So you're finding clues, you're using evidence, you're using statements you get from suspects, and you're trying to solve a mystery.
What are some of the feedback that you got from gamers out there as I show people? Well, we're going to be taking a look at it right there as you scour locations for evidence and whatnot. So what are some of the feedback you're getting from gamers as you started to introduce it to an audience of consumers out there?
Yeah, so the big thing that people notice is the transitions, I think, are really striking. So we used a Saul Boss art style, and he did a lot of like 1950s and 60s cinematic intros and movie posters, and that's sort of the style that we're going with. And people also really like the time period, that it's a historical type of thing, that they can explore and kind of find different things out about the time while they're having fun.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Now, I see the game as far as it looks very involving. It looks like it's going to take someone a little bit of time to figure out, obviously, where to go, what to do, and all the clues to figure out. How long do you think maybe the average consumer, the average gamer, gets involved with A Case of Distrust? How long do you think it has any type of playtime, runtime, as far as 10, 20 hours? What do you look forward to as far as when they get into A Case of Distrust?
Right, so the main game itself will probably be about 3 to 4 hours. We've just hit our alpha right now, which means that internally we can play it from start to finish for the first time, and so we're seeing what parts we want to keep, what parts we want to cut, where we want to add stuff to it. But it's probably going to be about 3 to 4 hours. Of course, in the game, different people react different ways to how you talk to them. So some people might like you more, some people might not. So, you know, it's the type of thing that you might want to play through again and see how it'd be different if you play through it a different way.
Yeah. That's awesome indeed. That's obviously a great game that's coming out. And also as well, can you let us know what formats, what's the pricing, and if possible, release date and when it's coming out?
Sure, so it's coming out later this year. We haven't quite yet announced a price so far, and then it'll be out on Mac and PC. You'll be able to get it on Steam, on our website, and probably on a few other online stores.
Oh, that's awesome indeed. It's a great pleasure to talk to you about A Case of Distress. If you get any chance at all, and I'm going to take a little bit of footage of the game itself. It looks very, very involving indeed. And like I said, any questions that someone may have about the game, where can they go?
They can go to acaseofdistress.com, which is our website. You can find the game on Steam, and you can also go to thewanderingbend.com, where we're running a devlog every week. We're updating it with new screenshots and new stuff, and sort of behind the scenes of how we're doing the things that we do.
Oh, that sounds great indeed. Well, Ben, I appreciate your time, and I wish you nothing but the best of success with A Case of Distress. And like I said, I hope to get you back on our show again to talk more about your great games.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you for being part of Pop Culture Cosmos.
It's been great. It's been a great time.
You're listening to the Pop Culture Cosmos. Don't touch that dial. Wait, do people still use dials? 2017 is a pinnacle year for Rob McCallum Films. Coming off the heels of the internationally acclaimed and award-winning documentary Missing Mom, we're in the final stages to release Kitty, Origins and Evolutions. Check out this heavy metal biopic that explores the ups and downs of rock and roll for the women in Kitty who blazed a trail in the music industry in the face of unthinkable adversity. Kitty, Origins and Evolutions releases this year from Rob McCallum Films. 2017 is the year to set your future on fire.
And we're back live at E3 2017. My name is Gerald Glassford, once again with Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. It is my unique pleasure to have on one of the creators of Mixer,
James.
Great
to meet you, Gerald.
I told you I was bad at names.
That's all right.
No worries. I wanted to ask you real quick, James, what's going on with Mixer? I know I've gotten, like I was telling you before when we went on the air, I've gotten all the press releases on how great it is. The lack of I guess, waiting time, buffering time, as compared to some of the other streaming services that are out there. And obviously, the future's great. You're working with Xbox. And you can tell by the excitement, they're excited about Mixer too. Yes, they're also excited as far as, compared to YouTube and obviously Twitch and whatnot, that your partnership with Microsoft, in fact, Microsoft has such a big hand in this, is making it so much easier for people to stream online their favorite games.
Yeah, so a lot of questions in there. To break it down though, Mixer is essentially Beam, but renamed Mixer, and so the awesome team that's behind it. So Mixer is an interactive streaming platform that lets viewers control the gameplay. So actually just over here we've got interactive soccer, where about 1,000 people are controlling robots that are from the stream, watching all around the world, and controlling these robots playing soccer live.
From the chat room, is that correct?
From the chat room. Directly below the chat, we've got an interface for people to press buttons or use their keyboard and control whatever you want to hook up to it in the game. So really what enables us to do this is we've got our own custom streaming protocol called FTL, Faster Than Light. It's a 1/4 of a second stream delay. So most platforms have anywhere between 10 to 30 seconds of delay. We have a 1/4 of a second. It's like having a real conversation. So if you're a streamer and you're building community, you can have a real conversation back and forth extremely quickly. So with that low delay, what that really enables us to do is take that and have maybe we announced a Telltale integration where viewers can make those decisions in the game and they can choose the story, how to go along the story, because you're able to instantly see what's happening on the stream and make a decision for the streamer.
And I know obviously since you're working you're aligned so closely with Microsoft that with PC and obviously Xbox One, Xbox One X, what do you think as far as the future holds for Mixer when it comes to those systems, especially Xbox One X that was just announced?
Yeah, so we're platform agnostic. We've got a great lineup of streamers from all different platforms out there. The cool thing that we're working with Xbox is we announced our Xbox app and our native broadcasting ability. So from the guide on Xbox, you're able to launch a broadcast within about 3 clicks. You're live on Mixer. Same on Windows 10. You press Windows G, brings up the game bar. You're able to broadcast right from your gameplay right from the game bar to Mixer with another 3 clicks. So really, really cool. We're seeing lots of new streamers come as a result of that. People that have never streamed before even watch streams. So there's a new audience there, especially on console where maybe they haven't, they've never participated in streams before. They're now all doing this on Mixer.
And the last thing I want to ask you, because I know you're really busy, just starting E3 2017, the mad rush is here, and all that, thousands of people here and whatnot. you've got obviously YouTube and Twitch, and so many people are familiar with, comfortable about watching and obviously using and becoming streamers. And obviously a lot of people have been streamers for a long time. What do you say to those people that are so comfortable on those other competitors such as Twitch and YouTube and say, hey, Mixer is a better alternative. Why don't you come on over here? What basically would you do to bring them over?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to ease of access through through the integrations we have on Xbox and through Windows. We just make it super easy to get started for people. So there's great communities on other platforms, and we definitely don't want to disrupt what they're doing. But it's definitely, they're starting to see this as an alternative where you don't have to just use one or the other. You can use multiple ones, and you can stream elsewhere. So we've seen new people come over and get a lot more visibility because it's just there's so many people checking it out right now, especially with E3. We had over 1 million people on the service throughout this week, so watching the briefing. So really, really incredible. We're seeing a lot of growth, and just give it an opportunity, give it a chance.
Well, that's awesome to hear. James, it's been a pleasure having you on the Pop Culture Cosmos. And I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to a lot of great things from your company and your creation known as Mixer. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Gerald.
Hi, this is Josh from Ghost Toasters, and you're listening to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
If you're tired of sifting through flea markets for rare and unique games, we can help. Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada, only 5 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, has all your favorite gaming staples, classics, and a wide selection of rare games with new stuff always appearing on our shelves. Come in and chat with Nicole or Doug about your love of games and watch as they help you complete your collection or find your childhood favorite. And don't forget, Retro City Games loves trade-ins. So if you have any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, or even PC games, come in and visit Retro City Games today. Welcome to the new metropolis of gaming, Retro City Games.
My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Stores. I'm here along with my new friend here at E3 2017. It's Gonzalo Alvarez. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just excited to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. And we're talking about the game Borders. So, I just came here to Indiecade, and the first thing I came to was to see what's going on with Borders, because obviously the political references and whatnot, it's obviously socially important at this point in time. So tell me a little bit more about the awesome game known as Borders.
Yeah, well, Borders, it's a game about immigration, and I made it to basically be able to tell people what it's like to cross the border. My parents had to do it 20 years ago to have me here, and simulating what it's like to do it, and maybe it'll get people to be a bit more sympathetic.
Yeah, it looks good. So when I see it, it's very involving. It also has a retro feel as far as the 90s games, the adventure games. So the process as far as getting over, or what are some of the obstacles that you're trying to evade, obviously outside of the border patrol and whatnot?
Okay, so the desert, as you know, is really hot. So you have to stay hydrated, and there's these water bottles littered around the ground that you can pick up to stay hydrated. But the main thing about the game is every single time you die, a skeleton's behind. So there's over 1,300 skeletons in the game at the moment of Texas players that have played the game when I was presenting it in Texas.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome indeed. So, and then tell me, what are your plans as far as, is there a release date involved, and what platforms, and how can people find out more about Borders, the game?
Yeah, so Borders is actually released right now. You can download it on your Android devices for $1. It's also free to play on PC and Mac. You can download it on itch.io. And we have our website at www.macostudios.com, where we have all of our projects, including Borders.
And one last thing, is there anything else you want to say about the awesome game Borders and what it means to you?
Yeah, so like I said, my parents had to cross this, and growing up, I couldn't skip school. My parents would say, I crossed the border, so you can't skip school. And so that just always stayed with me, and I wanted to just make something that people understood of what it was like for them.
It looks great, and I'll tell you what, it just looks like something that really a lot of people can get into and understand, especially in 2017 with everything that's going on in the political scene and whatnot. But it does seem like it's not only socially relevant, but a great game as well. I'll tell you what, Gonzalo, it's been a great pleasure having you right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Definitely.
Awesome, and like I said, any more information, they can just get a hold of Borders game and everything going on with Macau?
Makwa Studios.
Makwa Studios.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll get it right sometime. I promise.
No, I understand. I appreciate it, and thank you so much for checking it out.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for being part of the Pop Culture Cosmos. Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humannequin Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. We'll be back for more. This is the PCC Multiverse.
It's time for more sarcasm, more gloating, more pop culture BS, and ridiculous video game chat as GamerCast returns for Season 2. My name is Rob McCallum, and this year, once again, I'm joined by Mr. Glenn Stanway and my lifelong friend, Jay Bartlett. This year, the show moves to a slightly different format, favoring a more unedited adventure that lets us include more topics as we get together once a month to vent and celebrate everything going on in the gaming industry today and yesteryear. So if you like the idea of arguing with us, though we'll never be able to hear you, then you definitely want to check out GamerCast. Season 2 is really going to take it up a notch. That's GamerCast here on the PCC, the Pop Culture Cosmos, on iTunes, and on Podbean.
The guys from the Super BS Gamescast are back, talking the latest news in the gaming world.
I never understand the fascination with games that are basically single-player MMOs.
Yeah.
Even down to the, your pause menu is real-time.
Yeah, so you can't pause.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It's whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It looks cool. The camera's not great. The combat is pretty fun. But I think what might end up kill me for this game very early on from continuing is, one, I actually do really want to play Fire Emblem. Just the copy of Explorers was so cheap, and I have a collection of Final Fantasy related goods that I like to add to every now and again.
Yeah.
But it's just, there doesn't seem to be progression. If there is, I haven't unlocked it. So
it's probably just equipment.
There's no leveling up that I've encountered so far, and there's no job levels, which is the real disappointment. Because that's what I love. One of my favorite things in most Final Fantasy games is job levels, where it's you mastered this, and then you unlock this.
Yeah.
And so I think you just unlock jobs by doing quests or something. So.
I think it's a pure gear game, just like Monster Hunter and a bunch of those other games, they get old for me.
It is, the aesthetics of it are fun. It's kind of Final Fantasy-y. Sweet music so far.
Yeah. I think it was also made by a weird team too.
Sure.
I don't think it was the main Square Enix RPG team.
Yeah. It's certainly not bad. I think what I wish it was, because it's a Hubtown game as well.
Oh, okay. So
what I wish it was is one of the most underrated loot RPGs of all time for the DS is Blue Dragon.
It looked really cool. I wish they'd remake those games and put them on consoles, or at least remake them and put them on handhelds.
Because Blue Dragon itself is a great game, super fun, super wacky, super Chrono Triggery, with the art style and the music and all that kind of stuff, and the weird kind of technology versus rural society is kind of Chrono Triggery as well. The fighting could have been a little more fast paced, but Blue Dragon's a great game. But the sequels for it, the strategy game on DS, and then the Awakened Shadow, is a Hubtown RPG. You go down, delve down into a dungeon. Blue Dragon has such a cool world because it's medieval but technological at the same time.
Steampunk.
And in a very unique way.
Yeah, it's not traditional steampunk.
I don't know if it could be steampunk because it's not really steam. It's actual robots and computers.
So kind of like the last age of Chrono Trigger or whatever.
I guess Dragon Ball would be the closest thing.
Well, that's what it looks like because the artist, Kira, Toyo, whatever.
Definitely similar. Yeah, but it's that was a fun game, super addicting. I wish that series got more attention.
It was made by a company that doesn't make games anymore.
They make Terra Battle, which is pretty great, but it's time for them to make something new.
Do something new. Well, they're making enough money off that.
Terra Battle is definitely one of the more compelling iOS games I've ever played. And I think the reason for that is because they actually built a game that was not how can we fit a style that people like on a phone so that they'll buy it?
It's more like, what can we do with a phone and build a game based on that? So it's like a game system that works on your phone. It's not like playing an RPG or a platformer. It's like, people like platformers. We'll put that on the phone, even though it sucks. Like, it's not that. So it's pretty cool. But, digressing. Final Fantasy Explorers. I'd give it a soft pass.
Yeah, soft pass, or... Yeah, because I guess it's as low as it's going to go price-wise. But, what have you been playing, Jay?
So I finished Zelda.
Cool.
And
Did you finish that last week?
I was getting close to it.
Oh,
but I finally finished it. And what I learned about Zelda, I've been complaining. I'm like, this game's hard. But going back and fighting Ganon like on my second try, I realized that the game's not hard. It's just you need to figure out how to beat the bosses, and then it becomes easy.
And a lot of the bosses aren't that hard. Probably the hardest boss is the one in the camel. I don't want to talk too much about it, but most of the bosses aren't that bad.
They're pretty easy.
As soon as you see their weak point, boom.
As soon as you figure out how to do it, then you just go back on your second try, assuming you die, and it's just there.
Overall, what did you think of the game?
Oh, I loved it.
It's a great game.
It's really long. Cool. My only complaint is that you literally have to do the side quests and all the other stuff in order to
You mean the
play.
shrines?
The shrine. But I mean, like, you have to do the stuff as far as, like, awakening the fairy fountains and doing the armor upgrades.
Yeah, people have beat it, obviously, without doing that stuff. But yeah, if you're just an average Joe playing, you probably need to do that stuff. But most of it's fun.
Play the game comes, but it's fun, and it's a beautiful looking game. So I really hope that I would in the future like to see a game where Link, I don't know, has a little deeper, like, story arc.
I don't think you'll ever see that. I just don't think that's the point of Zelda, isn't to have like Link have this really in-depth story.
But I mean, that would make it more satisfying to me.
I guess. I think that whole game is just about like the enjoyment of like, exploring and adventuring. And that's Zelda. But anything else you've been playing?
I did. I downloaded Legend of Tomb Raider because it was free, or Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, or
it's not free.
No. One of the
like the.
Top you're talking about Temple of Osiris, the Xbox Gold games of
because I had downloaded Tomb Raider was free, the latest one.
No, it's not.
No, not right now, but it was free a while ago, and I downloaded it.
Not the newest one. Tomb Raider. What was the one that you liked a lot?
Just Tomb Raider.
It's called Tomb Raider, the reboot?
I thought it was Rise of the Tomb Raider.
That's the sequel.
Yeah, what's the reboot called?
One?
Just Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tomb Raider.
All right, well, I played it, and...
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great game.
Everyone kept comparing it to Uncharted, so
it is very similar to Uncharted. You don't think so?
There's more options. Like, Uncharted is very linear.
Yeah, no, it's definitely...
There are more places to go.
Yeah, it's an adventure game. It's almost... It has like, the term that everyone uses, Metroidvania. You unlock a bunch of stuff and go through.
Tomb Raider I thought it was fantastic.
It's fun, yeah.
I 100%ed that game.
You guys both need to play the new one. It's really good.
It like reaffirmed my lack of desire to ever play an Assassin's Creed game again. Like, it felt like it had all of the bits of a Ubisoft game, like of exploring a map, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It was like tense, wasn't annoying plot-wise.
Yeah, I'm curious what... We got to talk about some Ubisoft games today, because they had a bunch of leaks. But yeah, anything else you played for?
No, that's it.
I have not played a ton of stuff. I did delve back into Rogue Legacy. I know Dank and I have been playing. Have you ever tried it?
No.
It is an awesome indie game. I actually just decided, I totally maxed out all my skill tree, bought everything with my main character, and then I just decided... I'm going to make another character. So I've been doing that, and it's just such a fun game.
Fun. I love that game.
It's so good.
Heck out of it back in the day. So.
I'm at the end of Prey, so I probably will beat it this week. I just didn't have too much time, and I played a match or two of Mario Kart. Did not play Persona 5. So I've been kind of lacking on the games front. I'm still waiting for something really cool to come to the Switch, because I want to play it.
We already talked about the bummer of Mario Kart Switch.
Yeah, right? Not having unlocks. That to me is I just don't want to play it single player. Because unless, you unlock parts, but that's the most boring unlock.
Unlocking levels and characters is the best.
At least they didn't take away the trophies for the maps. Otherwise I wouldn't even play GP.
So what do you get? What do you get for playing the game?
Nothing.
What's the point?
You can get cart unlocks, which just allow you to do different cart stuff.
Because I remember in
but the unlocking characters,
Mario Kart, the original Mario Kart, and Diddy Kong Racing, or whatever, they would have you couldn't go on to the next race until you beat them.
Well, Diddy Kong Racing was totally awesome and dynamic. In that game, you were in an open world, and then you went to the different different play. Did you ever play that?
I played that game.
That game is so awesome.
That was
they
the
need to reboot
the first
that
time
series.
as a kid. When I was a little kid, I used to get headaches from playing video games too much.
Yeah, because
and that was the game that first started that for me.
Oh, really? I got that from Metroid Prime. I think it has to do with like frame rate and stuff like that. I've heard and also, there's something that your eyes get used to the 3D and stuff. But Diddy Kong Racing was awesome because like it had that, and the original Mario Kart was great too, or Mario Kart 64 and the original one because like I don't think in the original one you unlocked anything, but in the more recent versions you can unlock normally up to 12 characters. In this one, the unlocks would have been something like 24 characters, but they just took that out and
it would have been great. It's just fun, especially because I don't really read into a ton of news on a game like Mario Kart because I know I'm going to buy it and play it.
So why it's cool? Like whoa!
So it's like it's fun. It's fun to be surprised by what's in it.
That's the Super BS Gamescast, available this week on all Humannequin media outlets.
You're listening to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
For the latest reviews and opinions on everything pop culture, head on over to our brand new site, www.popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And we're back right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos in a little bit more controlled environment as we go. Where do we go, Josh? Maybe a nice solid 10 miles an hour right here on the 405 freeway?
Yeah, it's the Southern California parking lot.
Indeed it is. It's Gerald Glassford once again from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I'm here along with my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend. He's the CEO of Humannequin Media. It's Josh Pederson. And Josh, before we get into what we've seen today, which is a lot here at E3, as we're leaving it now, tell me your thoughts in regards to some of the things leading up to E3 2017 as far as the press conferences and some of the games that you're really thinking about getting into as they come out, fall or spring, stuff like that.
It's weird because I went into E3 with all these expectations of what I wanted to see, and I didn't really see a lot of the stuff that I was hoping would be there. So I got, obviously I'm looking forward to Gears of War, Uncharted, but I think honestly, like I was over Assassin's Creed, but then I saw the trailer and the gameplay, and I'm pretty excited about it. Like it looks, it looks like it was worth them taking the year off to bring us this product.
Well, I know I had some issues myself in regards to some of the developers that were out there or the publishers, I should say, that really were maybe losing some favor with the fans. And I think primarily what I was focusing on was Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Because Ubisoft, after some debacles with the Assassin's Creed series, and I guess the crew not doing very well from a personal standpoint, and also as well maybe not doing so well from a critical standpoint, and then also you've got the Tom Clancy games, some of the Division and Ghost Recon Wildlands, maybe not keeping that community maybe as strong as I was hoping it would be, and for Honor maybe not exactly capturing the fans' imagination as well. I was thinking that maybe they were going to kind of lose their status as an upper echelon, an upper tier publisher and developing team and whatnot. But you know what? I think they hit a home run when it came to all the different announcements, starting with Beyond Good and Evil 2. Obviously, that's something that
was a complete surprise.
Yeah, a lot of people were very happy to see that, and all the different games, but a lot of new IPs that I think could really gain a foothold again for Ubisoft within the gaming industry. Because I think that's what I took away from most, was that there are a lot of IPs that they're trying to go and put out there that really gamers can look forward to coming up in the future.
Right. And let me ask you this: what was the Skull and Bones? What do you think of that? Like, I've been wanting to ask you this.
That's the pirate warship game that was announced by them, correct?
Correct.
Well, I have a feeling that's gonna. I would say it's a condensed version, but it looks like it's going to be, from obviously the Assassin's Creed where they went out.
It looks just like that.
Yeah,
it literally.
So they're lifting that segment and creating a life of its own within their it's like a self-contained game within the game without doing all the other exploration and stuff like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I know people are trying to scratch that itch with the Sea of Thieves when that comes out. I guess I guess it was delayed to 2018. So I think that's going to scratch an itch for a lot of people there. But I definitely think overall Ubisoft, just by announcing that they've got a lot of new things in development outside of just the Far Cries, out of just the Assassin's Creeds, I think it shows a lot of promise as well.
Right. Yeah.
All right, getting back to our conversation here. So I think Ubisoft's they've got a lot of titles showing a lot of promise as far as what's coming up in the future for gamers. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely showed us some things we weren't expecting, and they proved to everyone that they do have some life left in them. That doesn't have to do with Assassin's Creed and Far Cry
and Rainbow Six and anything.
We didn't see any Tom Clancy games.
Yeah,
there was nothing there. So I mean, that's. I personally don't play them much. Everyone's like saying, "Show us a new Splinter Cell," but I don't think people want a new Splinter Cell as much as we believe.
Well, another publisher that really came out with some strong stuff was EA. I really think they did okay. There was some good stuff there. What did you like about basically what EA is presenting out there to consumers? I don't know, coming off the mishap known as Mass Effect.
I don't know. Like I'm kind of still partial towards Mass Effect. I would have liked to see some story DLC. Had them at least talked about it, but they're talking about, Anthem. I'm not too excited about Anthem. Everyone, it looks great, but that's just a video, and the gameplay we saw looks good too, but I'm not too thrilled about it. I'm not sold on it yet. If it's going to be just Destiny, a mixture of Destiny but Titanfall-ish, I'm not sold on it. I want to know more about it.
I also had some reservations on getting into Anthem, which is the new BioWare game. I was watching Anthem and I was thinking to myself, you know what, this is the kind of love that Mass Effect Andromeda deserved and just didn't get. So, but we'll see what happens. I think EA has got some good stuff coming on. I do like the fact that that Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks really sweet. Yes. We were trying to get our hands on playing, but there was hours and hours waiting involved. So I don't think we could get our hands on it quite as of yet. We're going to have to wait for the beta like everybody else. But speaking of which, obviously one of the places where you're going to be able to play it is on the Sony PlayStation. So tell me what you thought about the Sony press conference. Was it enough to keep the interest and level high on what is right now the current leader in the generation, or do you think they needed to do a lot more?
I don't know. See, with Sony, it's weird because their stuff looks beautiful, but they didn't really give specific release dates for it. Anything really. It's like they said, 2018, sometime. Whereas Microsoft and Bethesda did well by saying, hey, you can expect this in October, you can expect this in November, you can expect this in December. So it's Sony had a lot of really beautiful games. State of Decay was that?
Yes, State of Decay. State of Decay 2 is for Xbox.
No, was there a zombie game?
Oh, Gone Home.
Gone Home. That looks really good, and Spider-Man looks good.
Yes.
Most of their stuff looks good, but again, I want release dates, because the zombie one they showed us last year, and we still don't know when that's coming out, and I want release dates. I don't want to have I don't want to say, hey, this looks good, and then not be able to play it for 2 or 3 years.
You're listening to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Hey everyone, venture into the Pop Culture Cosmos today, where you'll hear our conversations on different topics within the world of movies, TV, video games, comic books, technology, board gaming, and more. You'll also get a taste of some of our other shows within the Cosmos as well. So come on and join us each week as we delve into the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, on the Podcast Radio Network. Yeah, obviously would have liked, as you mentioned earlier before the broadcast, wanted to see if we can get a hold of our hands on Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and that would have been nice to actually get a taste of that, other than what was being shown behind closed doors. But some good things coming to Sony. But I didn't see any of the outside of the new God of War game, but any real anything that would move the needle or just change the tune for anybody that's like really not into the PlayStation system right now. So I'm hoping for some bigger things indeed. And someone else like that as well, a publisher known for that just released its information on its upcoming super mega console, and that's Xbox, with its information on the Xbox One X, which was nice. It's a souped up, almost like computer as far as what it can do, as far as the power it has, but with all that comes a hefty price, and $499. Do you think it's worth it for what you're going to get?
We'll have to see, honestly. Like the 4K, yeah, it's cool, but it's only cool if you have a 4K television and 4K movies or whatever. You have to because basically if you buy it just as a console, it's a waste of money because you're not going to be utilizing what it was made for.
And I think it's been noted that they had a lack of titles that really are going to stand out because they don't have that third tentpole game to stand behind. And don't give me Forza Horizon or Forza Motorsport as that tentpole, because I just see the Forza games do sell well, but they don't sell enough to really move the needle in any direction for Microsoft. I think they need something beyond a Gears game and beyond a Halo game, and Crackdown, which is supposed to be released almost day and date to the release of Xbox One X. I just don't think that's going to do it. I saw it; it looked nice, cell shaded, everything. It looks decent on it, destructible environments, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that real killer app that they sorely need at this point in time. What are your thoughts?
Right, and that's did they give us a release date on that?
Yeah, that's going to come out, I think the Friday before, or a couple days before the Xbox One X gets released, because there's going to be the enhanced version of it, so you can upgrade to the Xbox One X version, or just it's going to be released also that it will be able to be played on by anyone who owns an Xbox One.
Right, and see, Crackdown's fun, but it's not like, usually around holidays they have like a Halo or a Gears of War. I know we're just talking about that, but Crackdown is not a filler. It's not a good game to fill that void where there's no Halo or Gears or something like that. And what surprised me from Microsoft was that did they announce any new IPs?
Not really of any large nature. They had some, they had sequels to Ori and the Blind Forest and some other smaller stuff. Cuphead finally got a release date, which I know Douglas and myself were really looking forward to. But that's obviously not going to be very much more than just a basic downloadable game. So I don't know. There was nothing really that was huge. Big. The need for another AAA game from them was it's not going to be found.
What worries
at this point in time, anyways.
Yeah, and what worries me is that because originally I went in thinking that I'm like, there's going to be. I was talking to Eric of Super Bros Station about this, and we were saying that the worry was going to be that there wasn't going to be enough indie games showcased. There are going to be too many. AAA titles, but what happened was there are too many indie games and not enough AAA titles. And I was still expecting to see Borderlands. That just surprises me that they didn't show any of that. So maybe at Gamescom, I don't know. But I wanted a little bit more out of Microsoft. I wasn't too thrilled with what they presented.
Now, how about Nintendo? Now, obviously, right now, Nintendo Switch is the hot piece on the market. Obviously, with Zelda that's out there, ARMS just got released. But we got a chance to see Super Mario Odyssey and get a lot of great announcements from Nintendo. What were your thoughts when you actually saw Super Mario Odyssey in action on the show floor, and then your thoughts about Nintendo and what they did as a whole with all the announcements they made, including a new Metroid, Fire Emblem, all the Xenoblade Chronicles finally getting a release window and all that.
I went into originally. I was expecting to be disappointed by Nintendo, but that was surprisingly pleasant that they offered that. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to dusting the old Switch off again. It's going to be a great game.
Well, I think Super Mario Odyssey almost makes me want to buy a Switch. Indeed, so definitely something to look forward to there, and a lot of promise coming to as far as the Nintendo Switch is concerned. I know a lot of people have high hopes for it, and a lot of Nintendo fans are excited about the Switch. Indeed, I guess we talked a little bit briefly about Bethesda. A new Wolfenstein game was announced, so definitely looking forward to that. What were your thoughts on and also Evil Within 2? What were your thoughts on Bethesda as a whole?
I wasn't like I was. So it's weird because I was expecting. There's stuff I was expecting from them, but what I was satisfied with what they did was give me release dates. Now, when I can expect this around this time. The idea of being able to play as Link in Skyrim was pretty cool. It's weird though because we're gonna probably have Skyrim on like 10 different versions on every console before we're finally gonna see something from Elder Scrolls 6. So I hope they're working on that. Obviously we got more Fallout stuff, Fallout VR. They're doing something interesting with their games. Is they're taking their popular properties and they're putting them into VR, and that's that's an interesting concept to me. So whether it'll play out without any bugs like Prey had, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, and as for their, I guess everyone was expecting new IPs because they had that map and it showed what's under construction at Bethesda Land, and they had the map, and we didn't get new IPs, we got sequels, but
they don't look that bad indeed. I know that there's a lot of hope for Bethesda fans, and like I said, the new Wolfenstein game it's going to be a lot of fun for me to play. Looking forward to that as well. And then we got to the show floor today. I finally arrived into the show floor earlier this morning. And your thoughts on the E3, your first E3 that you actually got a chance to visit. And I know you had some decidedly different opinions than what has been in the past in regards to some changes that were made.
Yeah, it was super crowded. I liked it. It was fun. I don't regret going, but it's just we got packed into certain hallways, and it took us forever to move through them.
For the small amount of space sometimes these halls have, it's very hard when you have PlayStation and Nintendo right together, and then you also have Xbox and Activision, and you have the majors pinned right next to each other in both halls. So those seem to be way too concentrated, and I think that's what happened as far as the way everything was worked out, because you have that influx of 15,000 extra people coming to the show, and then you have, oh my gosh, those areas. They need to learn how to allocate those spots differently so that the traffic flow gets flowed a lot better.
Right, and it was... Yeah, because it's just, and especially the way some of their booths are set up, they had it so people are lingering in these walkways trying to watch these people play. I did it myself while I was filming stuff. By the way, you could watch our footage here coming up on Pop Culture Cosmos and Humannequin Media's YouTube page.
Absolutely, and then maybe throwing that on Retro City Games' Facebook page as well.
Correct, but it was fun. I wish that there would have been some more perks as far as press goes, because we pretty much, with the exception of the behind closed doors interviews we got, it was pretty much the same as being a regular Joe.
It was nice to see though Mixer, which was Xbox One's Microsoft's new streaming service, get a little bit more publicity. Obviously they want to incorporate it into the gaming market and the gaming medium. We even actually got a chance to talk to the guy who helped create Mixer, which was kind of nice indeed.
Yeah, he was a super nice guy, but it sounds like well, I'm already impressed with Mixer, because I don't know if you guys were watching Sony's press conference, but their stream job was just terrible. It was awful. The sound was cutting in and out. There wasn't any sound for the first 10 minutes of it. I know the guys I was listening to the commentary from the guys over at Giant Bomb podcast, and they had some pretty funny things to say about it. But yeah, and then Mixer got on there and it's flawless. So I'm already impressed. And just some of the stuff they were showing us, where people in chat rooms were controlling those robots that they had, that's impressive. So
and he was talking about the delay being only a quarter of a quarter millisecond. It's just my gosh, that's amazing, as opposed to other competitors that are quite a bit longer. So it's definitely, as we almost get hit by this nice Volkswagen Jetta.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. They went
No,
back in the same place.
exactly. So I just thought I saw some good things out on the floor. It's just like you said, it's just hard to navigate through the show floor being even more crowded than normal. But behind closed doors, we got to see some great things from Maximum Games, and then also from I believe it's UI Interactive with NASCAR Heat 2. What were your thoughts on NASCAR Heat 2 when we got to take a look at it in a little bit more detail?
NASCAR games are like Assassin's Creed games. You basically, and I'm not talking bad about Origins or anything, but you basically do the same things over and over again, and it's just, there's nothing really to like look at. There's nothing visually stunning. The game looked cool. I guess it looks good compared to what NASCAR Heat, the old NASCAR Heat games, and NASCAR Thunder and all that. But yeah, I'm curious. I want to see them bring something to it that makes it more than just driving around a track. Because I remember playing those games as a kid, and I got kind of bored of them. Yeah, maybe if you have they have the multiplayer aspect, right? They're talking 42 players at once. So that's cool. If anything's going to sell me on that game, it's that. It's going to be seeing that transpire.
Well, even that, if it's just a small multiplayer community where they were unsure if they were going to release this information, but now let's say it's just you and I and a few other people, and they're not able to fill out a 40-person field. I could go, and if I'm the host, I can actually go ahead and select up to 40 different cars, so at least with AI, so at least you're challenged enough to go ahead and make sure that you're able to complete the race, and it's not going to be like a field of only like 10 or 12 cars.
Right. When I was younger, I used to play, I think NASCAR Thunder. That was on PlayStation 1. I'd have that little bar or whatever it was that lets you plug in 4 controllers. And I'd get on there and play with my brother and a couple friends, and then you'd always have somebody that went backwards and just decided to wreck you as you were going around the track.
I hear you.
But yeah, I just they should have, if they have little fun game modes where you can do silly things like that, maybe a cat and mouse mode, that'd be fun. I want, if it's really going to sell me to it, it has to have more than just the going around the track over and over again.
So any last thoughts as we're heading on the road here at an amazing 10 miles an hour? Oh, I'm sorry, 7 miles an hour. As far as your thoughts on your initial E3 and then E3 overall?
It was fun. I wasn't quite sure what to expect when we got there, so it kind of reminded me of Comic-Con. Just a lot of booths set up. I wish there were more merchandisers, because that PlayStation store took an hour to get into. But overall, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but not with E3 actually going to it, but the press conferences. There's just a lot that I wanted to see that they didn't offer, and I know I would assume that they're working on a lot of these titles, but at the same time, it's at least let us know that they exist.
I agree with you. And outside of Ubisoft, there were some small hits and games I really, really, really wanted to know more about. But for the most part, they were scattered and few and far between outside of the Ubisoft realm. So I'm definitely thinking that maybe it's an off year for E3, and looking for more and better things down the road when it comes to the video game industry. But I'm excited for some other things with, hopefully the stuff we get a chance to try, and there's some Battlefront 2. Look, give me Battlefront 2, I'm going to be satisfied indeed.
Battlefront 2, I will say, I wish they would have shown us the story, shown us some footage from that. It was they seem to be more focused on the multiplayer than anything else.
Well, I know they want to interact people there and get that interaction going, and also get a lot of testing feedback. So I know they go at, obviously the multiplayer was a big factor there, but on the trailers they showed a little bit of that story arc that you might be going through when you're playing as a member of the Empire. So I'm definitely looking forward to Star Wars Battlefront 2 indeed. If you have any thoughts out there as far on E3 or some of the games that you were interested in, or some of the games you'd like us to talk about on the air that were shown at E3, just reach out to us, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, his site, Humannequin Media, on Facebook and Twitter, or Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well.
So many options.
So many options indeed. We truly appreciate everyone being part of the broadcast that's listening out there. We truly appreciate your time in doing so as we head home from another trek to E3 2017. If you, by any chance, don't get to listen to our first run shows on the Podcast Radio Network, where we are thankfully, because of you out there, number 1 4 months in a row with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show, and number 7 with the PCC Multiverse. We truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. You can always catch our downloads at any point in time on numerous one of our Pop Culture Cosmos channels. Our Pop Culture Cosmos channels can be found on iTunes, Mixcloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, the Tangibound Network, the Gonna Geek Network, Ace Podcast Network, and Ace Podcast Network. I love to say that like that. And Overcast.fm. So there's a lot of great options for you out there. And then when you do download one of our shows on Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, we always will try to throw in an extra podcast on top of that. Could be one of his from Humannequin Media. Could be a Rob McCallum Films. Could be a Wine, Women, and Words. Could be an old Game Source retro podcast. It could be any one number of podcasts indeed, but definitely try to make sure that you get 2 for the price of 1, and it's free. So why not do that? That's a great price indeed. So I think that's going to do it for us this time. Josh, I just appreciate you going with me to E3 2017 as we head on home. We're a little bit fatigued. We're a little bit worn out, battling the crowds, literally and figuratively. Literally, yes, indeed. But definitely looking forward to hearing more in the upcoming days about all the great games that we got to see and we got to hear about at this year's E3. So for Josh Pederson,
he's Gerald Glassford.
This is Gerald Glassford, and it's another beautiful day here in the Pop Culture Cosmos and PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening, and here's hoping you have yourself a great day.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.
Tangent Bound Network. Let your voice be heard. TangentBoundNetwork.com.
Thanks so much for downloading the Pop Culture Cosmos as a special treat. We're adding a bonus episode, which starts right now. So sit back and relax as you enjoy more awesome goodness from the Pop Culture Cosmos family, and stay tuned as more great podcasts are on the way. Thanks again for listening to us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Welcome to episode 7 of What About This? The topic for this week is shame. This topic came about because I'm about to be a father in about 6 months or so. The countdown is on and I'm kind of terrified. And that's an understatement. And so I was starting to think about how I wanted to raise my kid. And I just recognized that a lot of how parenting comes about is through shame. And so we use this as a jumping off point to get into where shame comes from and what shame is about and why shame exists. So we hit on some topics, some things like embarrassment and how we feel and how we project that onto other people. How shame is really kind of the opposite of vulnerability and courage, and how we want to look at how we can use vulnerability and courage to sort of help people in their shame. We ultimately kind of get back to this notion that we think shame comes from some of the early Genesis accounts, like Genesis 3, and we talk about that a little bit. But then Ryan takes us back a little bit further and sees how that's not the starting point. The starting point is the first couple chapters of Genesis, and how we need to understand the truth of what those chapters say about how we are, how God looked at us and saw us as good, and then we move forward from there, and how that can help us overcome shame. We also look at how ultimately shame is just about kind of feeling comfortable in your own skin, not having a
too high of a self-esteem or too low of a self-esteem, but just sort of a proper understanding of who you are, and that we want to be able to begin to cultivate environments where people can be not who other people want them to be, but who they're supposed to be, and who their true self needs to be. So we're really excited about this episode. So we'd love to hear your feedback. Follow us on all the various social media outlets. So like, I think we're at WAT_podcast on Twitter. Follow us and like our page on Facebook. And then also follow Humannequin Media because they post all of our stuff as well. So again, we'd love to be in conversation with you all. So we hope you enjoy this episode.
Venture into the pop culture cosmos today, where you'll hear our conversations on different topics within the world of movies, TV, video games, comic books, technology, board gaming, and more. You'll also get a taste of some of our other shows within the cosmos as well. So come on and join us each week as we delve into the pop culture cosmos.
Welcome to the pop culture cosmos.
Today we're going to talk about shame, and we're going to talk about it in a couple different ways. The way that I've been thinking about this, because I'm going to be a new dad in October. Amen. And I've been thinking about how I want to parent, and I've been thinking about how we as a society tend to parent. And I'll use one sort of example, and I'm sure everybody's either experienced this or something like this. And I forget where I heard this, so if it's your story, and you heard it from you, I apologize. But so it's a father, and his son is just getting to that age where he's starting to realize that his body is different, right? So he has a penis, right? So and he's starting to explore it, and little boys, they just because they don't know any better, and so the little boy starts to sort of explore, play with himself, and the father slapped the kid's hand away from his private area and yelled no in the kid's face. So just slap no like a dog, right? And I'm just thinking in my head, like, immediate complex. That kid is never going to have a healthy relationship with his penis ever again. Yes, because he's just going to be ashamed of it the rest of his life. So my question is like that, and that's just one example. We do it all the time where a lot of our parenting is based in shame. And I'm not blaming parents. I think it's natural. I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, but that's sort of what I wanted to talk about, is why do we use shame to sort of raise, and again, from my own life, there are various moments I can think back and realize that part of the shame I have as an adult comes from these specific moments. And I'm not blaming anything.
And to make a disclaimer is there's no blaming going on as much as explaining going on.
Right, exactly.
And so in that story, the moment that happened, he introduced shame into his son. Right. From the most important voice with his mother, right? Mm-hmm. The most important voices in his life, in which he's learning, he's figuring out how to be human. And so in that moment, he introduces shame into his son's life before anything else, because there's going to be enough shame outside of the home. And he just goes, inside of here, be ashamed.
Well, but even, I would say, like, maybe even say it was in the public. So I'm putting myself in the situation. Same in the grocery store. If I have a boy, I don't know yet. But I have a boy, and my little son just drops his pants and starts playing with himself. Like, I might do that because I'm going to be so embarrassed that that's happening in public. My son doesn't. My son wouldn't know any better because he doesn't get the social convention of not playing with yourself in public. But me as the parent, I'm going to be so embarrassed and ashamed of myself that I'm going to do that. So I'm not even saying I would be better than that. I'm just saying, like, that's
where does that come from? Which
we just got to another step here.
Yeah. So we keep going, and it goes back to not blaming our parents or parenting as much as generations of parents being taught by parents, being taught by parents, and passing down, and this shame culture continues to perpetuate.
Is it a subconscious thing though, or is it something that we actually witness our parents doing, and then we're like, okay, that must be the proper way to do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what we're getting at here is that, and parenting is just a simple example. This happens in every social interaction, but it's almost like wounded people wound people, right? So people who have shame, a lot of shame that they're carrying around, which is all of us to an extent, project that shame onto other people. So the parenting style of shame just shows that you've got your own shame things that
exactly.
Out, right?
Well, I'm gonna definitely be poorly quoting Brene Brown this whole podcast.
Perfect.
But to answer Josh's question is, actually, the research shows that we learn shame from our parents, and so as we're learning to be human, growing up from the time we exit the womb, if you will, is when we see our parents shaming themselves. We are learning how to see ourselves the way they see themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so she would say, yes, we do live in a shame-based culture. We all deal with shame, but like Ryan said, it's not just in the home, it's in the classroom. It's on the field. It's everywhere. Everyone's had that teacher that when they say like there's no wrong answers or feel free, and then you say it and they condescendingly rebuttal. Right? You have those teachers. I can't stand those teachers. The teachers that you actually feel safe. You feel free to be vulnerable in the classroom, but you're already, especially, there's a difference between a first grade classroom and a classroom in college.
Right.
And you have all these insecure people walking around because they're so afraid, and there's a fear element here with the shame. I'm afraid in the grocery store to see my kid drop his pants, and what are people going to think of me? Once again, we're worried, we're consumed with how will I be presented to the public? What kind of parent has a child who would drop his pants? Every parent does who has a 4-year-old, because they're going woohoo, and they don't care because they're not socially aware.
Right.
And so we have these crazy expectations on children in which they're just the victims. They're the victims in our insecure society. Right? And so you get in the classroom and the kid goes, all right, I'm going to be vulnerable. Meaning I'm going to be, as Brene Brown says, there's no such thing as vulnerability without courage, and in any example of courage, you have to be vulnerable. And she speaks to military, and a courageous act always has the layer of vulnerability. You're exposing yourself. You're putting yourself out there. Think about the shame of going and asking someone to a dance or to coffee or a slice of pie if you grew up in the 50s, right? is man, you're putting yourself out there, and then when you get rejected, you feel less than, though you shouldn't feel less than.
There we go. So where the question is, no one would disagree that shame is present everywhere. Even as we talk about this topic, there's like a shame about talking about shame involved, right? So the question is, and Trav, you're getting to it, is like, why? Where did this shame come? If we can trace it back, like, why is our culture so? Why does everyone feel so ashamed all the time about everything that's going on? So I think that's kind of our starting point.
Which is why we're constantly performing, right?
Right. Yes. So those performances are just a symptom of feeling ashamed. Right. So my question is, where does that shame come from?
Yeah. If we, I guess I'll just go there. Is if we're gonna go from the Christian worldview, we go the shame of hide, right? The secret, the garden, the fallenness, and ever since then we have been what? Hiding behind our mistakes, hiding behind the lack of what we perceive as perfection, and so perfectionism is illusory. Well, you cannot achieve that, and so even the person that is suffering from perfectionism is, what are they doing? They are trying to build a wall or a facade, and so that you cannot see the truth about who they are because they're afraid of who they are. And she would even argue that we actually are the biggest shamers in our own lives.
I would wonder, even so I think if you're looking at the Genesis account, we would obviously point to the moment where Adam and Eve recognize their nakedness, right? And they start to cover themselves up. But I wonder if we would even push it back. one step further to where the deceiver, the serpent, says, "You don't know enough."
Right.
This tree represents what you don't know. And Eve and Adam standing right next to her would be like, I don't know enough. Like,
what is that?
And then
Is
so
that pride?
this
Pride, yeah.
It's this pride. It's this idea of, I think there's something that we believe. We start to believe this lie about ourselves, and we take that lie to be true. So it's not even that we.
Okay, so keep going with that. We take that lie to be true. Therefore, what do we do?
So if we're going to believe the lie, we will do anything to circumvent the lie.
Yes.
Right. And so they ate of the apple, even though they knew that wasn't going to help. That wasn't really the point, right?
Eric Mason said, Dr. Eric Mason says this, he said, did they fully understand the gravity of the decision that they made? But that is irrelevant to your point of
exactly.
Go back to your point, what you were saying about the I don't know.
Right.
Is this our perception, like other people's perception of us? That's
that was the first time. I would say, if you look at it, it's the first time that either Adam or Eve listened to a voice about themselves that was not based in truth.
Not only a voice, a lie.
Right. But that's what I mean.
Not based in truth. Yeah, sorry.
So it's the first time. So before that, we don't have much account in the Genesis account, right? So meaning before that, like what their interaction with God was like. But we can imagine that it was pretty good. It was healthy. It was God was telling them about themselves. Yes. And the minute they listened to someone else tell them who they were, that wasn't based in truth, wasn't the source of truth, then they started to feel less than, to Ryan's point earlier.
Yes.
And shame finds root in less than thinking.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good. So eating the fruit.
Right.
Sewing the fig leaves together.
Right. And then, of course, then it proceeds to, then your eyes are open to certain parts of you. Because, again, remember when God says, well, who told you that you were naked?
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't, because he knew that they didn't know that they were naked on their own.
Yeah. Yes.
He said, who told you that?
So going back to raising kids, who told you that? Who caused... I was at a buddy's house, and we saw his son experience like an embarrassment and a shame. And I went, no. You're too little.
Right.
You're too and no one shamed him.
Right.
No one shamed him, and it was just this weird. So then I kind of wonder, I'm like, man, is it just in the air? Like is it just because in fact there was only an encouragement happening.
Right.
And then we get put on, and then it's almost like this subconscious thing happening. And if you want to even go biblical, you fast forward to Jesus, and in whom I am well pleased. You are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. And he's done nothing in his ministry. And in that moment, Henry Nouwen would say, right, is at the subconscious level and at the conscious level, we're always asking, who am I? And he says the problem is we constantly answer that question in a wrong way. And he says the greatest spiritual task and he says one of the most difficult things to master is to live out of who we are, that we are enough.
Yeah. You just made an incredible point. So double back real quick. You're saying that Jesus, before he even started his ministry, right? So before he fed all the people, before he healed all the people, before all of that, before he went to the cross, before all of that, the Father looks at him and says, "This is my son with who I am well pleased."
This is my son in which you're enough simply because you exist.
Yes.
Therefore, he has the foundation of who he is, so he doesn't have to pose and to kind of
perform.
C.S. Lewis, right? Is, I'm a good boy, look at me, look at me. And so you see him enter into that, and it's this idea of I know who I am, and if I know who I am, and I'm okay with who I am, you cannot shame me because you cannot take away the fact that I actually matter, that my existence is enough, not my performance.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, the reason we perform is because we have to prove to ourselves, really, and then therefore, if I can prove it to myself and everyone, and I use you, I project onto you so that I can get to myself and go, yes, you are enough, Travis.
Yes, I love this because this plays into really what it means to be a human. So if you're listening to this and you think the Christian worldview is full of it, or even if you don't agree with the Adam and Eve account, or whatever, everybody understands as humans that there's something inside of us that feels like they're not enough. Feels like they have to achieve a certain amount of things in order to hit this like standard of peace or whatever, which by the way never comes, and so we have to just keep adding and adding and adding. So what we're saying is the Adam and Eve account, it's practical and it's good and makes a lot of sense to say, well, maybe this is our way of explaining when human beings went from being humans that could just be with each other, with the world, with God, with the creator, with whoever, to, oh shoot, I'm not enough, so I have to do.
So go ahead.
Because I think a lot of people, and especially for those of the listeners out there that may struggle with the Christian faith or just may be outright against it, right?
Sure.
What if you look at the Genesis account, the shame does not come from God, right? It comes from some internal dissonance between what you know to be true about yourself and what someone else has told you to be true about yourself.
Yes.
So here's what I think is interesting, is that shame.
So then why do we accept it then, Keith?
Well, but let me just be completely transparent about this from our perspective, from the Christian. The Christian church historically has also not been good at this, right?
Okay.
Much of our modern American shame, I will even say, much of our modern American shame comes from the very strict Puritan tradition that started the country, which we can get into later. I just want to say that, like, yes, let's even acknowledge that some of this does come from certain systems of power that were used to control. Let's even acknowledge that. That's not necessarily the point ultimately, because they used a system that was already existing. They used shame in people that people had anyway, right? So we can talk about the abuse of shame at another point,
or shame as a motivator,
or shame as a motivator, whatever. Like, we can talk about this, but so if you're sort of yelling at however you're listening to it, if you're yelling at your radio or your
don't
phone,
yell at your computer. That's weird.
If you're doing that, fine. Like we can probably talk about that at some point today. But let's start with this. What I just said, that it is some sort of internal dissonance. Shame is essentially this tension between who you know yourself to be on some deep level and who you've been told you are, even if not directly. Even if
it's
not
in the air.
It's to Travis' point, it is in the air a little bit.
And then so the question is, though, even this dissonance about what is true about me, what I know to be true about me versus what you are projecting onto me, or whatever is going on, or I actually look out and I begin to compare myself to somebody who I esteem, and I go, I'm not that, I'm less than that, and you can even project that onto yourself. Right? Is it because via the Christian worldview is because we're fallen, and so we fall victim to believing lies about ourselves? And I guess, like, why do we accept it? Is it simply because we're fallen and we're prone to accepting that?
Let me ask you a question, though, because now you've got my mind thinking. Is how many people are aware that they are ashamed? How many people see their shame as unfulfillment based on society and their friends, what everybody else is doing, and they're like, man, I wish I could be doing that. And then we market off of it. We make self-help books. We have these like philosophy posters, and it's like, how many people are truly aware of their shame?
I'm going to say something that's probably going to ruffle some feathers out there, maybe even on a side that a different sort of audience that I just addressed a few minutes ago. I think much of modern capitalism is based on shame.
It absolutely absolutely
meaning nobody's aware of the
right.
shame.
I don't think anybody's aware, but
so
like
why? Because what is it? How do they market?
So, like,
you don't have
this,
and you're not,
and you're not
and
as
if you
good.
don't have,
you
okay, so Brene Brown says this: is shame promotes the fear of unworthiness, of never being enough, nor being worthy of having enough.
That's so good. So you see
fear.
You see the commercial with the lady washing the dishes with the certain soap, and you go, oh, I'm not enough until I have that.
Not only that, it's even worse than that. It's not even worse. It's soap shaming. You know what's even weirder is, like, in your mind, you think here's what that message is really telling you: your dishes are dirty.
Yeah, you're dirty.
Right, which some people feel like,
Therefore,
if my dishes are dirty, I am dirty. I am not as good. So it's like, okay, dirty dishes. Like, who cares?
So now you see this. Now you see this in parenting, even, and you go, it's the embarrassed parent, the parent that is explaining their wild child or their crazy. And what we do is, and I hate this, and I am a father now. So our kids can hang out, man.
Yeah.
And so I think about this is I cannot stand, and I understand, but I cannot stand when it's like, oh, this is Johnny. He's my wild one.
Yeah.
You just named him.
Right.
This is Susie. She's my shy one.
She's timid.
She's rambunctious, and you're
so here's what I would say.
I thought she was Susie.
Right.
Which is it?
So here's what I would find interesting about this, because this is where you do get into some really interesting territory with parenting, especially, which is kind of where we started. Is how do you get to know your kid and get to know the personality and ins and outs and the subtleties and all that without naming them and sort of boxing them in, because naturally you're going to notice, oh, this kid, my kid, Susie, is a little shy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you introduce her as like the shy one, but how do you do that? Because there is going to be some, and I think this is where it becomes much more difficult as a parent, because and this is why I don't want to blame parents, or because again, I'm just going to say this, I'll say it, and it's going to be on the record, and people can play this back to me 20 years from now when my kid's a wreck. Hopefully not. But
you heard it here
I'm
first.
going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
My kid will have some sort of shame, probably as a direct result of something I do.
Yes.
Right? So let's just say that.
Right.
But how do you sort of get to know your kid and talk to your child about like who they are without introducing these very specific things? Because I'll tell you this. Last weekend we were up at a men's retreat, and I was sharing my story, and a lot of my identity growing up was in being the smart one.
So let's talk about that, right? Yeah. So what you were saying is it's not necessarily a negative description as much as a positive description, and so you go, little Johnny's smart, little Susie's smart, and they go, I'm smart, I have to live up to smart.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is I hate this. I hear parents, he's better than that, and I go, maybe he's not.
And that's okay.
Right. And so when you learn here's my whole deal is, even in marriages, you gotta commit to getting a doctorate in your spouse, right? And so we have a lack of interested humans on this planet, and in a digital age, in an age of media, we are losing our spirit and losing our soul. And Sherry Turkle speaks about this a lot, social psychologist, I believe, in that what media, what technology has actually done is the converse of what it set out to do, is to free us up to be creative and to think, and it's killing our creativity. Right. And it's also killing our interest in others. Right. And then you have the Western individualistic kind of narrative that it's you, like, right, Keith, you talk about how the literature even and everything around it is you've become the hero in your own story. Right. So I'm very disinterested in people now because of that. Now I got to take ownership. And you're saying, how does a parent take ownership of knowing, I know this, I know I'm going to screw my kid up on some regard, but that shouldn't stop us from going, I'm not going to, I'm going to do everything that I can. Right. And so instead of me going, well, someone's going to play football, and I go, but he can't throw, catch, or run.
He's 5'2".
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
you go, yeah, I know, man. Working on it. I'm a late bloomer. And I go, what if he's good at chess? That's good. Right. And because we're not interested in others, we're only interested in ourselves, what ends up happening is you have parents that are disinterested in their kids because they like, reading versus the pigskin, And you go, whoa. That's a problem.
Right.
Because you can't have a bunch of CEOs. So stop trying to make your kids something that they don't need to be. No. Start investing in the person that they are and learn who they are, and then you encourage. Right. And then sometimes you're going to have to encourage and push and put your foot down, but not shame them into it and say, if you don't, how many families out there have the kid that we're like, well, we expect that from them.
But we don't expect that from the younger sibling.
He's never, I go, no, he's just too smart that he never got good grades because he saw his older sibling get reamed for not reaching their goals. And you go, Steve is good too, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's smart too. He can get the grades. He just learned the system,
right?
And so now he doesn't have to live up to your outlandish expectations.
Not only this, and this is something that I've talked about with, I think, each of the guys here on different occasions about, because again, I'm in higher education, and I think the higher education system is broken, to put it lightly. So a lot of it, like, so we're pigeonholing these kids. I have kids regularly in my class that don't need to be in my class. And not because they're not smart enough to pass my class.
Yeah.
The talent that they have is not in analyzing the Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Good.
So
Yes.
why am I and this is even something I've had to question myself, like, why am I participating in a system that I'm going to say does detriment to some of these students because they are forced to be in a system that doesn't produce excellence in them, right? They're forced to fit into this certain structure that they don't thrive in, and so they feel bad about themselves, right? So they feel bad that they can't pass my class or they don't do well in my class, and I just want to take them aside and say, it's fine. Like, you are not less to me because you don't do well in my class.
Well, this gets back to us learning what we're good at and what we're not good at, and that doesn't make me a less of a person. And it actually frees me up to be who I am.
Right.
And you're tapping into something great, and you're talking about you're actually really, and I just read this book, Most Likely to Succeed. And it talks about the history of education.
Right.
And it's not so much that even the way education is today, and I know you're walking the fine line, but is we haven't caught up to what's happening in culture and society as a whole. And so our education system was once built for a time that it was important, and now we're trying to play catch up. And we can get into the big business of it, but aside from that, let's just go at it. It's not as effective because of where culture, society is taking us via technology and whatever. And so we're behind in creating and cultivating environments for our children to be capable of creativity. And I
don't want to get into too much because I hope to do a future episode.
We'll do a whole one
on
that.
higher on education systems and all that. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do think it's interesting that it doesn't, because I think I was thinking about this originally in terms of parenting, especially young kids, but it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when they hit 10 or 5 or 15. Yeah. Like, even if I'm not the one doing it, it's still a system that they have to do. It's still a thing they have to deal with, this idea of shame and being so. Anyway, I wanted to go back to a point. Your point, you were talking about lack of interested people.
Yeah, well, I think when we get into it I see this all the time working with the high schoolers, is the comparison trap, right? We're constantly comparing ourselves, and whether we're being compared to our siblings, maybe, right? Let's just we'll attack everything. Yeah. You're being compared to your classmates, and you're like, dude, I'm just not good at math.
Right.
And so in our society, we go, oh man, and then you have this one kid, right? I remember I was dating someone who had a friend who just never got less than an A. Just book smart. Found out I was a kinesiology major and said, "Oh, he's gonna be a psychic." And I said, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." So what? Even getting into education, Keith just took off his glasses, and so yes, I know. I took my invisible ones off too. I was like, "Yo, what?" And so I went, "Wait, who's smart here?" Right, because you learn textbook, so we're different people.
Yeah, right. And it's letting that book smart person know that they're not so great at other things, and that's okay.
But in that realm, they look down on people because they can't get straight A's, and so this is part of
the reason that they're looking down on people is because they're scared to death because they know that they're not good at that other stuff. So they're
It's a defense mechanism against it.
It's a defense mechanism. So if we could get to the point, to Keith's point, where that person that shouldn't be reading Pilgrim's Progress with him can know that person's really good at lots of other things that Keith isn't good at.
Right.
Which is why he's leading this lecture on Pilgrim's Progress.
And
it doesn't make either of you better than the other. It's just who you are, so be that. Then I feel like the shame would start to we'd be able to start to strip back these layers of shame and start to become who we
are. So shame, obviously, it promotes a fear of never being enough, right? Is to quote Brené Brown. Shame promotes a fear of never being enough.
I think it's a byproduct of not knowing that you're ever enough.
Well, absolutely. But the shame in and of itself is her argument is what promotes a fear.
Right.
It promotes the fear.
The feeling of
so
it.
we
It's not helping. Right. It's not.
What I get at is I go. Ever since a child is born, he constantly, and don't get offended because I'm going to use the father figure, but it's look, daddy, look, daddy, look, daddy, look, daddy.
Right.
And we continue to say look, daddy, look, daddy, look, daddy. It's a concept, right?
Right. Yeah.
We're doing it in our careers, and we do it in our relationships. Look, babe. Look, sweetie. Look what I did. Look, coworker. Look, boss. Look, society. Look, neighbor. I got the boat. Look, Steve. Come over. And we want to be because we want to be on top, and we want to be more than.
On another level, though, do you think the people that they're saying, "Hey, look, daddy, look, boss," that the people they're saying that to want that? They're like,
want what?
I think they're like, yes, this guy wants my approval. So
here's why I think,
which is another form.
But
of
I would say
that.
here's why I think that's the case because so. You do a good job. You want your boss to just tell you you did a good job. The boss wants to have that because he wants to be able to say to use like a weird term, my bosshood instead of my personhood. My bosshood is important because if I'm not the boss, then I'm not as good. So my position has to mean something. So I need my underlings. I need my subordinates to look to me for approval because if they don't, then it's an empty system.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah. So both pieces of the puzzle are rooted in shame.
Right.
And that's what's causing this.
Which is a great question, right? Josh is yes.
Right.
So it's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
And even I have kids breaking down over they feel like if they don't want to go to the next level of sports that they're less than because there has been coaches who are like, well, you want to go D1, bro? And you're like, no, I just want to play high school. Is that okay just because you didn't make it?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And so then you have parents living through their children, and they're obsessed with something. And it goes back to even these things about like, dude, and kids feel when their parent's not fired up about what they're doing. And I would say, why aren't you fired about what your kid's doing? Because you're just fired up about your kid.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this fear of that shame promotes fear. And so she gets into vulnerability, and she says vulnerability is neither good or bad. But I believe if I'm remembering right, it is the means through which we're able to put ourselves out there and be exposed to criticism and to failure.
Right.
And so I make myself vulnerable. It's not a vulnerability, but see, vulnerability is defining our society as weakness.
Right.
And it's not a good or a bad thing. It's a thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's neutral. Yeah. It's a thing that allows you to feel everything, to experience everything in its fullness, and live this wholehearted living. I think is, to borrow her term again, is this shout out to Brené Brown is being able to accept failure and not attach it to your identity. Tim Keller's book on freedom of self-forgetfulness is the best book ever. And so, and I need to read it every so often to remind myself that I'm both enough and that I'm super egocentric. and going, the reason I have an ego and I need to keep feeling the ego, as he borrows from the scriptures of Paul, is the reason I need to fill my ego is because it's empty, or my ego is filled up, or it's overinflated.
It's like a balloon.
And Paul says it needs to be filled up by Jesus.
Right.
So for the Christian audience, or even, but is if it's filled up by anything that can be taken away from you, it's crushing, and there's this beautiful quote by Madonna, and Keller goes, you guys think that she's this narcissistic nut, and he goes, no, she just knows herself better than you.
She talked about how she's never going to be enough. She's realized through all of her accomplishments, through all of her things, that it's never going to be enough. And Keller goes, you look at that and you go, gosh, are you kidding me? And he's making the point that no, she's just way more self-aware than the rest of us, because that's the exact same place that the rest of us are trying to get to. She just had enough life experience to get there sooner than a lot of people are able to get
meditation.
there. Yeah.
But she does. She says she basically she fills the cupboard up every night, right? She goes and she has this epic performance, and you have 20 million people screaming your name and worshiping you, and the next day you have to go do it again because you need the applause, because you don't believe you're enough. And right there, what's she doing? She's shaming herself. Right. You see? And so this is her point, there's a constant shame from the outside that you accept, and then you begin to be your number one shamer.
Yeah. It's weird too because when we become aware of this, like it's almost already too late for us to make a change because, like you guys said, it all starts back as where our parents start raising us. Like, it's so hard as an adult to change your mindset. Like, you can read these books, you can watch videos of people saying, "Hey, do this," but it's so difficult to turn that off.
So let's talk about this a little bit.
So that's what one person calls the inner voices that we have from a child.
Right. Okay. So how do we start to change that narrative that we've believed about ourselves for 20, 30, 40, 50, however many years? How do we, once we see it, and if you're listening to this, maybe for the first time, you're going, "Oh,
that's why I do that."
that's why I do that. What do we do with shame? Now that we can identify it, now that we can see it, how do we start to get rid of it?
So I'll just set it off as simple as this is, and I totally agree with this, is to understand it, and then to articulate or verbalize, and that is what Brené Brown says is the key to undoing or to getting rid of the shame. Because you go, so many people know my story, but I was abandoned at 6 months old by my father, and thank God for mothers out there who are consistent, right, and stick around. And so what I didn't realize, we don't, like Josh said, we don't realize these things. They just become a part of who we are.
Right.
Yeah. And so I realized around the age 21, and it's funny because my mom would say, like, "You're such a happy kid." And I was like, "What happened?" And what was that? It was the anger was a mask for her.
Right.
And so I grew up feeling never enough because there's something I think within both a mother and a father, and in my personal research, so don't take this out, don't go freak out about this. In my personal research, there's something about a father in a daughter and a son's life that, man, just does something. The same way mothers have this incredible thing about them in different stages of life that a father cannot do.
Right.
And so this is something I think that a man just has an innate quality. And so that was an inner voice, dude. You're not enough. And I didn't have that guy spurring me on. I had a mom doing it, but I didn't have this. That in and of itself. And I finally figured this out in my early 20s. I go, oh. And then I started to see, I project onto you. I make you in my relationships. I'm like, do you love me? Am I enough? And it really boils in up. But so Ryan, you're going, so how do we get around this? Well, I had to finally realize I did have a daddy issue. Whereas, you know what I used to say growing up? I don't need a dad. Everybody needs a dad.
Right.
So why did I say that?
Yeah.
Why did I say my mom is like a mom and a dad, which is actually weird and impossible? My mom is not like a mom and a dad. She's like a mom, without a husband to help raise me.
Yeah.
And so I had to be honest about that pain, which we live in a society we're not good about that, and that's a vulnerable element in my life that I had to come to this place of vulnerability where I had to say, I wish I had a dad.
So here's, one of the ways, and again, so remember earlier when I said those people who are anti-Christian, this might be where you might latch onto something, but I want you to hang on with us and not turn off after I say this and say, we won. Because I think there's something in some of the way the Christian church today approaches one of the theological concepts of original sin. Because there's a way to teach that produces more shame, right?
Yes.
Because essentially what the theology of the doctrine of original sin essentially says, all humans are bad, right? Immediately we can think, we know where shame can come from. So my question isn't we need to, I'm not saying we need to throw that out. My question is, how does the church teach us about ourselves? Because there is a real truth there, that there is something about we fall short of our own expectations all the time, right? Or we fall short. So there's a real truth about humanity there, but how do we do that without producing this deep-seated shame?
And getting rid of the fact that, yes, we are fallen.
Right.
And I'm going to throw it to Ryan because we talk about this all the time, and we talk about
I was setting this up on a tee for Ryan.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I am too, and I'm not saying it. I'm just like, please get into it.
Because Ryan, and I'll just be honest, I've heard you talk about this, and it's actually helped me a lot over my last 2 years of the journey.
Based on how do we get out of shame, right?
Yeah, and it's all just me trying to deal with my own stuff, right? But it is something I'm passionate about, and I think as a starting point, we need to start the story from the beginning, right? So, Josh, you're a Harry Potter fan,
Yeah.
right? If you would have picked up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and skipped the first chapter and the second chapter about the boy who lived, and then just jump straight into the story, you wouldn't be able to make a whole lot of sense about who.
And the whole resolution wouldn't have meant as much had I not read those two chapters.
Right, and so I think sometimes we approach the Bible the same way, where in Genesis chapter 3, Adam and Eve take the fruit and they eat it, and they sin, and that's where the guilt and the shame enter in, and that's where we would say we've inherited Adam's sin, original sin, which I agree with.
Well, where does the Bible start?
We have inherited this sin, and the shame, the guilt is everywhere. However, if you go back to the first chapter and the second chapter and you read it, it's about a God who creates this incredible universe and this world, and he calls it good, and then he creates the animals and he blesses them, and he tells them to be fruitful and multiply, and he calls them good. And then he creates human beings in his image. This is Genesis 1, 26, 27, 28. It says, hey, go be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion over it. And he goes, this is good. In fact, he goes, this is really, really good.
Yes.
So before the fall, before shame entered the picture, before sin came, before everything broke, God looks down on us and he goes, I didn't mess up.
Yes.
Right? This is good. So I would say that underneath all the layers of sin and brokenness and shame that even comes with birth, we have to get back to understanding that humans are actually good. Humans are good. Now this rocks the boat in theological circles, so go ahead.
So what I was going to say is I think that's where Keller's book, the art, Freedom of Self-Forgiveness, is actually brilliant, because what he's saying is you have to forget yourself.
Yes.
But in an essence, and I haven't read it, so tell me if I'm off, but in essence, underneath that, you have to not just forget yourself, but at the same time, you have to remember a deeper self.
So,
right? You have to remember that. You have to remember the pre-fallen relationship with God, right? Now, it doesn't mean you throw out this idea that we do exist in a broken world. You say like, oh, there is a part of me that was deeper than my shame, that is truer than my shame, that connects with God, right?
Well, in the book he's talking about the condition of the human ego,
right?
And he basically says this is that you can't hurt my feelings. He says you hurt my ego,
right?
And he says we live in a society that basically promotes high self-esteem,
right?
But high self-esteem is actually, over the course of humanity, is mainly the root of all evil, is to esteem oneself. And so he says low self-esteem can promote that as well.
I would say it's actually the same thing as low self-esteem in some sense.
Yes.
And not the exact, but like...
what he's saying is that low self-esteem is actually better almost than high self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
But we've grown up in the last 30 years where a mom drives down the street with, my son's on the honor roll, right? And 30, 40 years ago, people were like, that lady's nuts.
Right.
Because that's not healthy.
Right.
And so now what happens is he said, okay, you do have an ego, that's true. It needs to be filled up. Right. And so he says, he's in essence saying, Paul is saying, I don't care what you think about me.
Right.
But I also really don't care what I think about me. And I take that a step further and I say, no. At the end of the day, it's only I care what I think about me, because if I didn't care what I think about me, I wouldn't care what you think about me. And so at the end of the day, it's me focused on myself, whether that, if you want to argue with me or not, is irrelevant. I'm just saying I take it a step further and say, at the core of it is I'm so concerned. And what he's saying is, he's saying more so you do have an ego. It needs to be filled up with Jesus.
Right.
So there's no room for me to attach what you think about me or what I think about my failures or successes, and make that my identity. Rather, my identity is in I am well pleased. You are my son in whom I am well pleased. So if
you have to forget the self that is defined by other people.
Exactly.
And you have to remember the self that is defined by Christ in this case.
This is exactly his point. And so I'm a Thomas Merton and Henry Nouwen junkie. And I think it's Thomas Merton who coined these phrases, which is what Ryan and you were talking about, is the true self versus the false self.
Right.
And our false self leads us to performing.
Right.
And all we're doing when we're performing is what we're trying to do is we're trying to mask the shame that we bestowed upon ourselves or that was bestowed upon us.
And that's why I think high self-esteem is actually just low self-esteem masked in something else, because like this projection of I love, like, and there are maybe people who genuinely be like, I see myself as this huge, like this big, this grand, this important person. I think that's just a mask to say, like, I really feel like terrible about myself, but I'm going to show you that I feel better about myself.
Yeah. I think you're kind of hitting it on the head. Is it's kind of one and the same,
right?
But there is a slight difference.
Right.
The difference is Hitler esteemed himself,
right?
Because he went, I deserve. So the guy who beats his wife probably has high self-esteem. We go, no, there's no way. And you're like, no. He esteems himself in high regard. He holds himself in high regard.
But I would say, so I agree with you, because I would say that high and low self-esteem are both
just one
the false self.
Right.
Yes. Oh,
that's
okay.
What I would say.
Absolutely.
So
that's genius. Yes.
So then to get back to Chad's point, like 10 minutes ago, yeah, weird that the four of us would get on rabbit trails. The answer then to how do you get rid of the false self, or how do you start to take that shame away, I think, is doing exactly what we're doing, is having conversations and having dialogue and being open and honest about things, because you say it and then you go, oh, like they're still here. You know, like they're still listening to me. There's this lie underneath shame that says never talk about it. That shame is wrong, and so push it down. And so it's this never-ending cycle that just keeps it down beneath the surface. How do you wage war on that? You talk about it.
Right.
And I think you talk about it in the light of truth, and like, you know, we've been kind of addressing both audiences or whatever, and is there absolute truth, whatever. But at the end of the day, let's just, for the sake of going, there is truth about who we are and that we're enough. Right? And to borrow Keller's phrases, our deepest desire is to be fully known and fully loved. Yeah. And so our fear comes in when we go, if they know me, they won't accept me.
Right.
They won't love me. They won't want to spend time with me. And I've learned in my own life and in the life of others, I've watched it, is the opposite is true. And when I make myself vulnerable in my marriage, my wife draws near to me. With friends, they go, whoa, you go, it's an opportunity for two guys to go, you too? And then all of a sudden we have this, right? Because humans are shaped and wired for connectivity. And that's what we desire, even on the spectrum of these extroverted, introverted kind of personalities. And we have this tendency, you and I were talking about this, Keith, is to isolate.
Right.
And I think even that is like, that can be many different things, but at the end of the day is, Ryan, you're right, is we have to create circles, discussions to be able to talk about this and to create environments and cultivate those environments for people to be vulnerable about who they are, about what they're dealing with.
Well, and I'll say, like, and this is just a little bit of the behind the scenes for those of you out there. It's like, so this whole project this whole idea started years ago, and I'll speak for myself, and you guys can chime in, but growing up, I would always ask these strange questions or make these strange statements, and I would just get stares back at me. People would just be like, "What are you talking about, Keith?" And then slowly, and I found some, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, about 4 years ago, I started chatting with the four guys right here, and a light bulb clicked where I'd ask a question, and instead of getting a stare back, I would get this look at it, like with me and Travis. Like I'd ask a question, and Travis would be like, I'm glad you asked that question. I've been thinking about this for years. So it started to click, and I was like, oh, it's fine to ask these sorts of questions because that's just who I am, and it's fine to have these sorts of discussions because that's just who I am. And I found a community where that's, I can be vulnerable and be promoted. But it wasn't that I have to exist in this community, right? Yeah. I do, because that's a whole other discussion. But I can still ask these questions.
Get the blank
stares, because now I realize, it's weird to ask that question, and I'm okay with that, but that's just part of who I am. So for me, it's a matter of this is what I've come to understand, is this idea of humbleness is not a lower understanding of yourself than, so humbleness is not, when you need to be humbled, it's not you need to think less of yourself, maybe you need to think less of yourself than you have been thinking of yourself. But it's not like I need to think of myself as worse than I am.
No.
And I definitely need to not think of myself as better than I am. I need to have a proper understanding of who I am.
Well, and I would even say it's not weird to ask the questions. It's weird to think it's weird to ask the questions.
Right. And so right.
If you think it's weird, you're weird.
And I just need to realize that that's just who I am. I need to be okay with that's just who I am, right? I have this, so it's a proper understanding of self. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Right, it's just it's a thing. It's like it's just the thing. Like that's what I've had to come, and I've gone through a lot of things and you know, over the last couple of years where I've had to come to that realization is that I've had to realize that when people say they're being humble, they're really projecting their false self again.
Well, we won't get into it, but you can't be humble.
Right.
Humble's an action.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like when people say, like, "Oh, I'm just being humble" and all that, which is ridiculous. I understand that.
Well, it's when you ask, when you know this prominent athlete in the area, and you say, "Hey, like, are you good at your sport?" And they close up,
right,
and they don't tell you yes, and I go, "You're not being humble."
Right.
A truly humble person, is someone who is completely interested in others,
right?
But also that can say, I'm a really good. I'm going here. I'm being looked at, and that's not arrogant to say the truth. We think the truth is somehow this arrogant thing.
And one of the things, actually, this is a sort of an aside, but one of the things that I really had to realize, I forget who said this to me, but I think it took years for me to really have it sink in. When I was a kid and through most of my life, I was terrible at taking compliments. It would make me uncomfortable, and I would try to be like, it's not that big a deal. And then someone said, being bad at taking compliments is a form of arrogance.
Yes.
And I was like, oh crap, that sucks.
Yeah,
so I've had
you don't know your smart.
Right. So I've had to come to realize that here's the way when someone gives you a compliment, just say thank you.
That's it.
That's it. Just say thank you.
Right.
They're trying to do something nice to you. They're not waiting for you to say, oh, I'm so good, so they can get. It's not a gotcha moment. They're offering you. They're being vulnerable. To your point, they're extending a hand, and by saying something like, "Oh, it wasn't that big a deal," you're slapping their hand down.
Man, you can almost say thank you and you're welcome.
Right. because Keith, you are smart, and so you say thank you, great. But also, I am smart, and so I'm going to go be smart.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
why can't the author?
I'm going to use what God's given me, or whatever He's given me, and I'm going to go and I'm going to use it.
But what is if you guys write a book, right? Like Josh and Ryan, you guys write a lot, and if someone gets a hold of anything you written and it's like, dude, that was so awesome. There's almost this like humility in being like, oh, you're welcome. like I know that you're like, that sounds arrogant, but the joke there is kind of like, so the author who writes this #1 best-selling book is like, thank you. What do you say when someone says thank you? You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Right.
And they give you a compliment, and there's almost a sense in like, thank you for existing. You're like, you're welcome. Whatever. I'm being cheeky, but you're going. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude,
and that's hard. But that's hard for us.
Why? Because it's appreciation of others.
But to bring this back to where we started, it's the same thing as the parent slapping the little boy's hand away. It's not about the boy. No, it's about you, right? So they're coming out and they're saying thank you. I'm extending a vulnerable moment to you, and you're literally slapping the hand away, saying no.
Don't do
that.
And you shame them.
And because you're not secure in yourself.
They feel uncomfortable and awkward, and then you bestow you shame them. And you know what's funny is I got this. So when people, sometimes I dress well. Sometimes, and so if I get a compliment, thank you.
Hey, you're very fashionable. Thank you for all your.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. And so someone goes like this. Goes, oh, those are dope, or oh, that's a dope shirt, or whatever. I go, right. Like I'm agreeing with you. Like I know that's why I'm wearing it.
They expect you to be uncomfortable with it, though. They don't expect you to say.
But you know what they expect me to say is thank you. I said you were complimenting the shirt to me. Are you complimenting my like sense of fashion? So then say, dude, you have really good style. Thank you. But they're like, dude, that's a sick shirt. I go, I know, right? And all of a sudden I'm a jerk and I'm arrogant and I'm cocky. And I go, what? That's what I said when I saw it on the rack.
Right.
That's why I got it. And all of a sudden so it's this weird perversion. And to your point of like getting a compliment, dude, and not saying thank you is that person in turn, you're shaming them.
Right.
And then they're going like, man, I thought I was doing something normal, right, and good because I appreciate. And so now it gets into, I just want to say this is, because we're so focused on self, We don't appreciate everybody else's beauty, and I'm not talking about just physical. I'm talking, but even physical, we don't appreciate it. And because we live in a culture in which we are envious and we're constantly jealous of others, we can't appreciate the person. And that is to the point of Keller's book, is he said, you get to a place and you're a person who has forgotten themselves. They go, I'm glad it was done. They go, I didn't have to write the book. I didn't have to hit the home run. You can beat me on the court, and I'm glad you did it. Because it had to be done. Someone had to win, and I can now look at the winner and go, bravo.
So because what they're saying to you is like, you've brought some sort of joy to my life. And if you say anything other than thank you, if you say like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal, you're telling them their joy wasn't that big of a deal.
We'll talk about
that's terrible.
We're talking about the false self okay, and this is and who's helped me? I think, and I don't know if this is what he was saying, but author John Mark Comer says, I think it was him. He says, this false self, when people are like, "Oh man, that was great." It's like, just all glory to God. You're like, well, yes, but God didn't do it. Like he did it, but he used you. And therefore, you can say thank you. Because he called you to do it, because he called your co-heirs. He's saying, I want you to create and cultivate to this point. And he's going, hey, stop pretending and say, like, oh, really? I didn't see, God didn't give the sermon. He gave you the gift. Yes, so cool.
So when Genesis 3 is the starting point, then that shame is what enters into the picture, and we go, well, I had to be God because I'm just a piece of garbage or whatever. But when Genesis 1 is the starting point, then we go, oh, God created me, and I'm going to use the gifts that God gave me to do something in this world. And guess what? That makes even God, that gives more glory to God than us going, oh, well, I'm nothing. And so it all comes back to understanding the beginning of the story.
Let's talk for a moment. Let's talk about the white elephant that is society and culture. So I remember this moment specifically when I was 16. I became aware of like shame, my mom's shame towards me, I guess. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this, but the Christmas card, okay? My brothers and sisters, like, you know how they like to have those big, what's everyone up to? My brother and sister had like these paragraphs, say so-and-so's graduating, so-and-so's going through this. And for me, there's one sentence. One sentence. And I was like, dude, my mom, I think my mom's ashamed of me, because she was raised on like the Leave It to Beaver type happy days. Like that was the culture she was
So explaining right now, not blaming. But so she inherited the Leave It to Beaver.
She inherited that.
She was taught that
idea. So now we fast forward today, and us waking up from shame is like coming out of the Matrix. We got all like pulling all the tubes out, and then. But it goes back to like objective beauty. Why can't they see what I see? Like, how am I going to make myself vulnerable and put myself out there without them knowing where I'm coming from?
Fantastic.
And so we have like, even today, society's definition of acceptance is not real. It's like, I'm accepting you because it makes me feel better as a human being about whatever it is you want.
We're constantly rejecting and accepting things. In order, so if I reject something, what I'm doing is I'm trying to find my identity in it. If I'm about that, I'm not. And when I say I'm not about that, it's also what it's doing is I'm saying that's part of who I am. And so we're compelled by things, or we're repelled by things. And I would even say there's an element of no, that's the jealousy factor is you are compelled by it, but you're jealous, so you can't be compelled by it, instead of the appreciation of it and understanding. Like the complexity of each kid. That like you didn't have three of the same. And even if you had triplets, they ain't the same.
So we're constantly absorbing what society wants from us. So even if we're aware of this, we tend to get buried beneath what everybody else is thinking or projecting onto us.
And I think that's why shame is the starting point to transformation. Identifying shame, looking at shame, seeing shame, calling shame what it is. It's like a car. Our soul's like a dirty car, that has just a bunch of dirt on the outside and water everywhere. Identifying shame is like the car wash, where there's a whole bunch of stuff inside of it that still needs to be like sifted through and worked on. But when we see the shame, we call it what it is, and it's like we get this like nice car wash for our car, so that we can at least see inside and see like what's down there and what's going on.
You just made me think about with your car illustration is white. Why do people buy white cars? Because they don't look as dirty.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like we're like these white cars, and they're like, and then you, like you said, you take it to the wash and you go, oh, there was a film.
But you know what? Where my mind took me to is like, why do people write "wash me" on those cars as if they're shaming the car that it's dirty?
That's
like
shame.
You're like
shame tactics, guys.
You're like, I know my car is dirty. You don't need to write "wash me" on it.
Because there is. Because
Right,
if you're
that's what I'm
40 years old and up,
Right.
if you don't have your car
but
is not clean,
But I just
you
think,
are not.
I just think that's
you're not a whole person.
I just think that's a funny impulse. And it's what we've been talking about. It's a funny impulse for like the 16-year-old kid because he thinks it's funny, which is the worst form of humor.
But why would they even do this? Because the 45-year-old,
right? No, I understand it.
Let's take it a step further.
It's part of the same system.
Let's take it a step further.
Absolutely.
Why do you feel super uncomfortable? I'm not saying us. I don't think the four of us fall into this category. But why do a lot of people feel so ashamed when somebody comes over to their house and it's not clean, spotless? What do you say? Don't go in that room. Do not go in.
We pretend to be something we're not in the moment.
It's just, like, how is there a better picture of just our souls?
Absolutely. Yes.
That is, don't go there.
That is,
don't go there. Don't look at that part.
Yes.
You know, let's not talk about. Don't do that podcast.
But going back to Travis's point, because there's a vulnerability in inviting, not even just having someone stop by your house, but inviting someone over when your house is a mess.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of courage and vulnerability.
What are you inviting them
Come
into?
in because you're real. Like this is what it looks
yourself.
like. This is what this looks like.
This is what Tuesday
every
looks like.
day, right? This is what this and there's so you go into someone's house and this happens all the time. You go into someone's house and they're like, I apologize for the mess, and it doesn't matter how messy it is. They'll always apologize for the mess because it's a weird.
And you go, you're not that sorry. You clean it up.
Right, but even then,
I don't care.
But what I want to try to do, and it's a genuine feeling of mine, but I also think it's important in the discussion. Like, you know what? It's fine. Like, it's fine.
Oh, I always say that.
Yeah, but I know, and that's like sort of the polite, like that's the I'm sorry, it's messy. Oh, it's fine. That's the polite sort of social contract. But I'm saying there needs to be genuine expression in that. Like,
that's fine.
It's funny too that you mentioned.
I almost want to say like I'm glad it's messy.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Hey, you know what? I was right.
Thank you.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned that because like when I take people in my car's messy most of the time, and I'm always
Let's
like,
talk to you about that.
Yeah. I mean, there needs to be some like accountability on this.
But I'm like, my car is messy. I would clean it, but I don't care. And then they look at me with like this shame. They're like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Like,
Yes.
you should care. Like, why?
You should care that you care, bro.
Right.
Yeah, right? Like, you have other things to do.
I think what we're saying is, aren't there some more important things in this world that we should actually care about?
Right.
Sure, right? Other than making sure every last piece of dust is off of.
Right.
Well, dude, we have.
And if it really bothers you that much, offer to help them clean it.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Well, and let's go back to just
saying if it really bothers you.
Yeah, come over Tuesdays. My one of my cousins, he's very artistic. I mean, he's an insane artist and great musician. And me, him, and my brother shared a room for years through college. And I'm not the cleanest guy, but I'm pretty tidy. And then it kind of goes down I would say, then my brother, then him, and whatever. And my cousin can function with guitar strings at the edge of his pillow.
Right.
Yeah. And CDs at the foot of his bed.
Yeah. Right.
Like I'm not talking about like stacks and a guitar laying next to him. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding.
Right. No.
And I would go, what? And we have these jokes about. We always reflect on our old, and we kind of like make fun of each other about things. And I just go, he's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Why does that bother me? Yeah. Because I didn't sleep in his bed with him.
Right.
We were 20 in our
That's
20s.
a whole other discussion.
Yeah, that's fine.
The heat went out one night.
Yeah. I was tired. I thought it was my bed. And so in that is, why do I care? Now, if he put his guitar strings on my bed, yes, I care now. But he didn't, and it's fine, and he functions well.
Right.
He's fine. He's an incredible guy, and who cares? But it goes back to why are we so obsessed with everyone trying to be like, this is what we do in relationships.
Right.
Right. And this is what you guys were talking about something earlier. I just wanted to kind of go back a little bit as to what is going on. And what is going on in our humanity, and Keller talks about this in The Meaning of Marriage, is when you get married with someone, you're really signing up to partner with God to create and to cultivate an environment for that person to become who God created them to be, not who you want them to be, which is usually just yourself.
Yes.
And N.T. Wright brings up, there's these moments where you get a glimpse of who they were really created to be, and quote unquote who we will be as our future selves.
So let's even then let's kind of put a bow on this then, because if we're going to take that model, and that's a brilliant illustration for marriage, but it's a perfect illustration for parenting. Your responsibility as a parent, and again, please hear me, I am not a parent yet, and I will not be a perfect one, but if that's the call is to create an environment and cultivate an environment where your kid is not who you want them to be, which is shame, but who God made them to be, which is truth.
Yes.
So that's, if we're going to think about shame in parenting, and again, we're all human, so we're going to make that mistake, but the goal is to create an environment where the kid becomes who they're supposed to be.
Their true self.
And you won't shame them. Now, there's some other things where, you can't drop your pants in the middle of a grocery aisle, but you do it in a way that you cultivate the person, the soul, rather than like the social construct of the kid.
And you do that through having enough courage to have conversations. You do that through having the wherewithal. I think for a lot of it, it's just ignorance, right? Like nobody knows, and then you say that and you go, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. Right. So it's having enough education and thought, thinking through this enough to realize, hey, I need to celebrate the good parts of my kid. I need to not try to fit them into a certain mold. I need to understand that there's going to be times where they mess up, and so let's talk about that in a healthy environment, right? And let's put them on the right trajectory, and let's go from there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to end this way because I just want this. I want this recorded too. To whoever my firstborn, because you're about to be born in about 6 months. I'm so excited for you to be here. I love you already. All right.
There it
I
is.
think that's good.
All
right.
All right.
If you're tired of sifting through flea markets for rare and unique games, we can help. Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada, only 5 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, has all your favorite gaming staples, classics, and a wide selection of rare games with new stuff always appearing on our shelves. Come in and chat with Nicole or Doug about your love of games and watch as they help you complete your collection or find your childhood favorite. And don't forget, Retro City Games loves trade-ins. So if you have any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, or even PC games, come in and visit Retro City Games today. Welcome to the new metropolis of gaming, Retro City Games.
We hope you do listen to us and follow us on all of the social medias. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like Humannequin Media, follow them. And our Twitter handle is
at WAT_podcast.
And then Humannequin Media.
Yeah, just Humannequin, just at Humannequin Media. That's
all right. And we'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, anything like that. Follow us, give us a shout out. Respond to us.
Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you think about this episode. We want to know everybody's feedback. Wherever that takes place, wherever you find us, let us know what you think.
That's to us people that can feel things. It hurts.